So all of these oh my gosh. So all of these accessories. Hey there everybody, my name's Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the brothers Murph, and if you watch us at all often, you're probably thinking, something looks different right now. Something is weird. It's the same wall of games, same weird tchotchkes all over that wall, same unfortunate face looking at the screen. What the heck is different? Oh, I know. It's this big, beautiful table here. That's what's different. This here is a game topper. Game toppers are luxury board game tables that sit on top of pre-existing tables. So this right here is just sitting on top of a table that's underneath it. Game Toppers is a wonderful company run by a truly magical man named Berkey. And they're meant to be luxury tables that more people can afford. Because if you ever looked at like Geek Chic tables or Geek and Sun tables or any of these tables out there, they're really, really wonderful. They're really beautiful, but they tend to be really, really expensive. A lot of times they're $3, $4, $5, $6, $10, $12,000, which, let's be honest, none of us can afford. We live in LA. I can barely afford Taco Bell. I sure as heck can't afford a $10,000 Geek Chic table. Rest in peace, Geek Chic. And that's totally fine. They're luxury tables. They're meant to be luxury items. But it's also really nice when someone comes along and makes something luxury more for the everyday person. And that's what Game Toppers are. Now, to be completely transparent, the Brothers Murph is sponsored by Game Toppers, but that wouldn't really change our opinion on it. Because since the first time we saw Game Toppers this summer at DiceTower.com, we have been talking them up like crazy. And this is before partnership talks started between Game Toppers and us. We saw the products and saw how awesome they were and have been talking them up ever since because it's a really, really great idea. And now that we have one, we get to show you just how awesome they really, really are. So in this video, we're gonna be doing an assembly video. I'm gonna show you how to assemble your Game Topper, and I'm also gonna give you our thoughts and our review on the Game Topper as a whole. And I'm so excited to be doing this video because man, oh man, these things are pretty. Just look at it. Look how pretty it is.
So big and wonderful.
So pretty. Now, Game Toppers is not one of those tables that comes to you pre-assembled. It also doesn't come with people to assemble it for you. You have to do it yourself. And this is the assembly manual. Oh, wait, no, this is Jackie Chan's autobiography. It's really good. You should read it. It's outstanding. God, I love Jackie Chan. He's just the best. Like, he's the greatest person. You know what? Let's just read this. Screw this video. Game Topper doesn't need. Let's read Jackie Chan. I want to read I Am Jackie Chan again. It's great. Let's go through this journey together. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. They named me Chan Kong Sang, which means born in Hong Kong Chan. I guess my parents weren't very original when it came to names. Or maybe they just wanted to celebrate their relief at making it to Hong Kong as survivors of a breathless escape from the turmoil of the mainland. So all joking aside, what is the instruction manual? Well, the assembly manual is this. That right there. That's the whole thing. This is all you need to assemble your Game Topper. It's really this simple. One page, one-sided. That's it. It's so easy to assemble. So now that we've talked about assembly, I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble mine. I'm gonna show you the table that's underneath it, show you some of the features of the Game Topper, and then we're gonna reassemble it. I'm gonna show you just how easy that is. So as you can see, this is our old table. It's a pretty big table, which is why we got the Game Topper, which you can see the two halves of it right here. We got the biggest one they have. And the reason we did that is because we needed one that was gonna fit and cover our table. Every other one, with the exception of this biggest one, you would have been able to see our table underneath it. It wouldn't completely cover the entire thing. So for us, it was either get the biggest one and just have a ton of space to game, or get a smaller one and get a smaller table, which we could have done, but we do actually really like this table, and it's very, very strong and sturdy, and so you know what? We decided to go with the big one. And as you can probably see from that time lapse, it was very, very quick to take apart this table. It was super, super fast, and I'm gonna show you right now how to assemble it. Now, what a lot of people have asked, if it is a Game Topper that just goes on top of a pre-existing table, how does it stay on there? This is the underside of the table, and the way it stays on, as you can see, is from these strips all right here. This is kind of a rubbery, sticky, non-slip kind of surface. Now these non-slick pads are insanely good at their job. As you can see, the game topper is actually a decent amount wider than our table. So what that means is that the only non-slip surface for this table is on these small beams going across the center of the table. These big non-slick surfaces don't actually even touch our table because they hang off the sides. So with just these 3 non-slip surfaces and then 3 more on the other half, that is more than enough to keep our table from sliding around. Even though the big non-stick along the edges of the table doesn't touch the table, I can't push this without pushing the rest of the table underneath it. You don't have to go underneath and grab the whole table and pull it like that. I can just pull it from here. And the game topper is centered over the table really well as well. So if you're relatively big dudes like Mike and I, and you're leaning on this like this, it doesn't just flip over and hit you in the face. If I start leaning the whole thing back, I'm actually leaning the table underneath it back, not just the game topper. Because it's really solidly built, that non-slick surface really holds on to the table underneath it. Again, even if it's one of those cheap Costco tables, it holds on like crazy. So I have one half of the game topper already on our table over there, and I'm gonna put this half on right now. So what you do is just lift it up, and these are actually, despite being so big and solid aluminum, are actually pretty darn light, which is nice. So all you do is put it so then they line up just like that. You get them all lined up and push them completely together like that, lining up the seams to make sure they look all good. And the way you secure these 2 halves together is devilishly simple. You have this bar right here with these 2 bolts. You unscrew these bolts so they're loose, and then you slide the bar so it's halfway on each side of the table, and then just tighten it back up. And now the table cannot come undone. And that's it. That's literally all it takes to assemble this. It is so easy to take apart and put back together. When we first heard about game toppers, my first personal question was like, really, like how often will you actually take it apart? Like once it's there, isn't it just there? Because it's gonna be too much of a hassle to take apart and put together again. But this one I can honestly say is so easy that we take it apart fairly often. I like to do art out here. I like to draw, and I don't want to draw on top of our game topper because I don't want to accidentally stain the mat. It's also awkward to draw like in a vault like this. So what do? I just take off the mat, undo the table, put the table halves to the side, and boom, I'm done in 2 minutes. And it's so easy to take apart and put together that it actually is kind of like a mobile game table. Speaking of mobile game tables, there's also this thing. Boom! This right here is a game topper carry bag. We also decided to get this just in case we wanted to take our game topper on the go, which you can do with one of these giant carrying bags. This bag is designed to fit 1/2 of the game topper in 1/2 by unzipping this big old thing right here. Bow, 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 bow. And then it unfolds like that. And then you put 1/2 of the game topper in here, and then you flip it over, and then there's a second compartment on the other side. And that means that you can essentially carry this table around. Now this is one area where I'm not entirely sure how often we're actually gonna use this thing. We got it because we wanted the option to use it, but once we put the whole table inside this and picked it up, I was like, I don't know how often I'll carry around the table like this. And one of the main reasons is because it is heavy. Each half is not that heavy on its own, but when you put it in a bag and sling that bag over your shoulder, it is a big package to carry. And if you honestly had one of the smaller tables, I think then it's really useful. For the Mycroft, which is a really monstrous table, I honestly don't know how often we're gonna use this, and I'm not entirely sure if it's worth it. But nonetheless, I'm still really glad we have it, just so we can use it when we need it. Now let's talk a little bit about this specific table here. As I said, we have what's called the Mycroft table. The Mycroft table is the biggest table they have. And as I said earlier, it's because we had such a big table underneath it to put it on top of. But I'm really glad we have it because we have essentially unlimited table space. Now, like all game toppers, they all have a vault, which is the sunken down area. This vault area here is 6 feet by 4 feet. So all of you Warhammer 40K and Wargamers out there, this is really the table for you because this table is specifically made to size for wargaming. Now the vault here is 6 by 4, but you're gonna get an extra 5 inches on either side for the rail here. So all said and done, it's a really large table. But again, we like that because we constantly stream on this table, and it's nice knowing that we can always fit any game we want to stream, any game we want to review, any game we want to talk about, we can fit it on this table, no problem at all, which was not the case on our old table. And as I'm sure you noticed earlier, it wasn't always black. This is just the bare naked vault. It has no mat inside of it. And honestly, you really should play with a mat inside of it. And one of the main reasons is because Game Toppers has really, really nice mats. This is the mat we use most often, which is just a red woven style mat. It has a nice sheen to it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It makes games, especially with a lot of color, really pop. They just boom, pop right off the table. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's really high quality. And one thing that's really great about all Game Topper mats is they have a woven over side. And this is nice because it stops them from getting warped and it stops them from starting to fray. We used to have a big game mat with our logo on it, and while that's a really great mat and we like it a lot and we really love the color, the sides don't have this woven over side to them, and it does start to ripple and it starts to warp a little bit, and it starts to not look very good after a lot of use. These ones won't have that problem because of the really sturdy finish on the side here. Because we stream a lot and there's a lot of people seeing our table all the time, we wanted to have a couple different options. So we got two other mats to go along with this one. The first one we got is this big old space map. This space map is a really, really cool, just gorgeous, gorgeous space map. So if you're playing a big space game like TI4 or Xayah, or you're playing X-Wing or Armada or something like that, and you want a big, beautiful space background, this is the one for you. We got a big old planet here in the corner, we got a big space station here, and then just gorgeous nebulas in space right here in the middle. This one is absolutely beautiful, and it's probably my favorite one to just sit there and look at because there's just so much going on, and it's just, oh man, it looks good. But it's actually not my favorite of the three that we have. My favorite of the three we have is, wow, the adventure map. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna disagree with me about this being my favorite. I love it though, and I love it mostly because it just reminds me of Lord of the Rings. If you know anything about Mike or I, you know we are Lord of the Rings fanatics. And this just feels like Tolkien's Middle-earth map. It just has that look. It has that kind of like, just like old parchment, kind of brown yellow. We got a big old, what's the thing called when it's the north, south, east, west? Compass, that thing. Probably not called it, whatever. And it also has this cute little orc golem thing over here. I don't know why, but there's lakes with a ship in it right here, and there's these mountains, and it's just, it makes me want to read Lord of the Rings while sitting at this table, because then I'll just feel like I'm in Middle Earth. And I don't know. I understand that this probably won't be everyone's favorite, but this one is mine because I absolutely love it. So these are the three mats we got. Now, what a lot of people do is they will leave all three mats in here, and they will just take off the one that they want to use. And they'll just go boom, boom. Oh, we want the red woven one. Cool, we'll take off the top two. Oh, we want this one. We'll just keep that one on. We'll have this one. And that's totally up to you if you want to do that. We usually only keep one, and the reason is because these mats have a ton of bounce to them, which is really great. You want a mat that has bounce because you want to make sure your rolls are really random and they're really going all over the place. And man, things roll like crazy on this here table. The problem is it's relatively easy for them to bounce off the table if it has all three mats on there. So this table would be about 100% perfect for us, even just like this. But like all cool gaming tables, it has some sweet bells and whistles. So let's get into a little bit of those things right now. One of the absolutely coolest bell and whistle and accessory that Game Toppers have is this weird thing. What it looks like is that I took one of the railings from the Game Topper and ripped it off, and that's kind of what this is. Although this doesn't come from our Game Topper, you can buy one of these railings separately. Now, what can you do with these other than bludgeon bandits who break into your house? You can use it to make your Game Topper half the size. So what you do is you take half of your Game Topper, you put it off to the side, you get one of these railings, and you can put this railing to complete the rectangle of your table, and now you have a half table. So what you do with your rail is you line it up with the edge of your Game Topper, and as you can see in here, there's two little spots for bolts. So you take one of these little thumb bolts, and you put it in there, and then you start screwing it in. And you screw in those two, and then all of a sudden now you have a little 3x4 half table. And we also have this little mat here that goes along with a smaller table. So now we have a little half table here that we can play on if we don't want the giant table out. And now this may be a little crazy, but it's something to keep in mind. If you have the Minecraft, you could buy a rail and make it a half table whenever you want. You could also buy 2 rails and essentially get 2 tables. They're smaller, but this table right here is still way, way bigger than you need for most games. So if you entertain a lot or you have a game group that comes by really often, you want the option to have 1 giant table or 2 smaller tables, you can also do that, which is really, really cool. And you can see, again, the assembly and the disassembly is super easy. You can just pop the rail off and you're ready to go for big table fun. Now, like all cool game tables, the game topper comes with a ton of accessories. One of the main ones is these right here. These are cup holders. You can buy individual single cup holders, or you can get a big old double cup holder. Now, these are really, really cool. I don't know what it is, but like having cup holders is like my favorite part of like fancy game tables. I don't know what it is. It should be like the game experience, but no, I'm always just like, this is so convenient. Oh, I've always wanted cup holders. I have cup holders. They're in my car. They're at the movie theater. They're not that big a deal, but for some reason, I think it's because there's always such a fear of spilling on a game table and spilling on your game that this to a gamer is just like, it's like hitting a home run in the bottom of the 9th and winning the World Series. It's just the most basic thing in the whole world to me. So we also got a ton of cup holders because we want to make sure everyone has a place to put their drink so it doesn't ever go on top of the table. So all of these accessories go in this rail right here, which is super, super easy to use. All the accessories that go into the rail have a little lip right here, and you just put it in like this and put a little pressure and it clicks right into place. You do not need to force it. You don't need to like really jam it in there. It's just boom, boom, and you're good to go. And then of course you have to have a little cup holder. I love that they're bright gold and copper. It's great. And you can put a cup right in there. Now, what if your cup is too big for this cup holder, or you just want to use this as a bit tray? Well, they all come with these cork game topper inlays that go right on top and still work perfectly, even if you have the cup holder underneath here like this. And this right here is so, so useful because you can keep bits on there, or if you're like Mike and I, we drink a lot of coffee in big coffee cups and they can't fit in these little cup holders. So if you're like Mike and I and you like to use big old mugs, then this is a perfect solution. And of course, the big twofer works the exact same way. You just put it in here, quick little pop down, put in some cup holders and you're good to go. And these are the same where if you want a really big bit tray, or if you want a place to put something like a rule book, you put in your little cork inlay with the cup holder still underneath and you're good to go. And something that was super unexpected and so, so cool is you can see the top of the rail has a little groove right here. And this groove, as I'm sure you can guess, is a card holder. So now you don't need to have another pesky card holder down here on your table. You can just have it right here. Boom, boom, boom. Cards, 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 cards. And then they go away. But that's not all, because we also decided to get these accessory pieces from Daedalus Incorporated, a company that makes inserts and cool dice towers, and they've paired up with game toppers to give them sweet accessories that are only for game toppers. Now, the first 2 things we have are the Daedalus Space and Defense Dice Towers. Now, these have a really cool groove system here on the back, and this groove part sits on the back end of your game topper here. So all you do is go boom, and then they click right in like that, and you go boom, and they click right in like that. And they sit right on the edge of your game topper right here, so all you have to do is reach over, throw some dice in there, and they come shooting out onto the table. And then when you're done with them, you just pull back, and then boom, and they're right back off. The next thing we have is this cool like rule book holder. Again, it has the same grooved system on here. Now this one looks like it goes this way, but it actually goes this way, and it just hooks onto it like this. And this is super useful, especially if you're doing something like Dungeons and Dragons and DMing. You have a big spot here that can hold open your DM book. It can be a little screen if you want to, but it's just a nice way to have your rule book there open. You can just flip the pages and it holds it really, really nicely so that you don't have to have it off to the side and constantly pulling it up onto the table. Now the last thing we have are these privacy screens. We have 2 different types, and they're really just, one's a space theme and one's just kind of a normal theme. And basically what these are to keep yourself private from the other players. So you put this little piece in right here, and then like normal, you put it on like that, And then you take one of these and then kind of push it in like that to make it nice and snug. And now you have a little screen that'll shield you from your other player. So if you have cards here in your little card holder, the other player won't be able to see it. And then it's this cool like space thematic part. Or if you want something more castle-like, you can choose one of these. But they're very, very nice, very, very cool. So that is our new game topper. So in the end, what do we think about it? I think it's pretty obvious that we really, really like it. It's super sturdy, it's super convenient, it's so easy. If I have 2 words to describe game toppers, they're simple and awesome. And that's just the truth. They're really, really amazing. Now, some drawbacks are, for us, is the big bag. The big bag itself isn't a drawback. It's a really great idea, but we have the biggest table they have, and it's just really not practical for us to carry it around in a bag like that. But again, that's mostly because we have the biggest one. If you had the Watson or the Holmes or one of the smaller ones, it's much more feasible to carry it around on your shoulder. Or if we wanted to carry around just half of the table and then the rail to make it a little half table, that's totally doable. It's really not that heavy. But when you're carrying around this 6x4 giant table in a bag that's slung around your shoulder, it's a little bit too much. But in the end, that's totally fine, and that's unique to us because, again, we have one of the bigger ones, which, to be honest, most people probably won't get because they just don't need. And another thing about them is they are relatively pricey. Now, again, when you compare them to basically any other game tables out there, they're not that pricey. They're really, really, really cheap. But still, really, really cheap luxury is still luxury, and it still does cost money. But if you are looking for bang for your buck, this is it. This is the absolute best you can get. Because let's be honest, the majority of us cannot save up 12 grand for a really, really dope oak, wood, beautiful game table. We just can't do that. So if you want something feasible that you can save up for, this is it. One half con is that there is no top to go over this. A lot of game tables have a top so you can make it like a normal table, and then it has the vault underneath. There is no tops for these yet, so you cannot turn this into a normal table. But it's only a half con because, like I said, they're so easy to take apart that it's really easy to get your normal dining room table back. So is that a con? Sure, but it's really not that big of one. And that's something that going into this, I was like, you know what? Because it's so big, I don't know how often we're really gonna wanna take it apart. But considering how easy it is, we actually take it apart fairly often. So it's both a con and a plus. I would like to have a top for it so we can turn it into a normal table, but hey, you never know what Berkey is thinking of. We've talked to him about a couple different ideas he has for game toppers, and that man is like a machine with ideas. He's constantly going. So maybe that's coming in the future. Already, it's one of the best investments we've ever made, at least in terms of content creation, because now everything we do looks so much better because it's on this table. And then on top of that, our gameplay, when we're just playing with Mike and I or a couple of our friends, it already makes that way better because now we have such a cool, awesome centerpiece for our game room. This is a studio, but it's also our game room, and it's also one of the rooms we spend the most time in because Mike and I love playing games. And now playing games is even more fun than it used to be, and it's because of this game topper. So if you want to support one of the best people in the hobby, game toppers is a great way to do it. So if you like what you're seeing here, there will be a new Kickstarter for them in the future. And that's it. There's really not many flaws in it for us. It is exactly what we needed. It is exactly what we wanted out of a game topper. So that is gonna be it for me, people. If you really like this video, let me know down in the comments whether or not you like these game toppers if you have one, or if you're interested in one, or if you think, you know what, no, I don't need one in my life. That's totally okay too. They're not for everyone. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. And please remember to like and share this video. We want as many people as possible to see these game toppers and see how freaking cool they are. And if it's your first time here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on because Mike and I put out all sorts of board game videos every single week. So until next time, you've been checking out this dope game topper with me, Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the brothers Murph, and we'll see you later. Be honest. Do you think you're quick enough and possess the dexterity to snatch a bird out of the air mid-flight? These are the things I wonder about. While you're thinking about that, check out Restoration Games. They sponsor us, and we have information for where to find them and their great games in the description below. That's probably quick enough. Click over here, by the way.